What's up, y'all? Give me a sound check on this thing right now. Cool. Is it just you and me? Oh no, there's 6 people on here. Who we got on here? Got people watching. Hearing some echo. Oh, no echo? Hopefully no echo. I'm not playing back through anything else, so we should be good. What's up, y'all? Maybe we'll wait a little bit. Oh, I didn't turn on the light. Light's good? We don't need light. What's up? What's up? We're on the clock. 19:30. 1.5. We'll see how long we go. This is my first time on YouTube live. And I appreciate you stopping by. I assume a bunch of you coming over from Instagram, maybe. So we got, I think we got Lynn on still. Yup. Nope. Yep. What's up, Lynn? What's up, Brandon? What's up, Seth? Dar Sanchez. I like that. Hey, Russell. All right, I'm going to get into it. Any questions before we get started? I'm just talking about, I think I got a single topic. I don't think we're going to be able to fill some time at the end, but wanted to throw it out there early just to see if anybody has anything. This is boxes of booze, right? Bookers. Hopefully that's not backwards for you. It's backwards for me. This is some Bookers bourbon. I don't know the date. It's at least 8 years old, something like that. It's got a really nice smell and a hell of a kick. Nutrient. Wands on. What's up, dude? Nutrient control. I'm probably not the best person to talk about that, right? Because I have my crazy way, and that's Lynn and I kind of share phosphate control. At least we did. Maybe that's changed. Phosphate control method. But sure, we can touch on it a little bit. I think if you watched the Inappropriate Reefers take on my system when he came over and we did a little review, it was kind of crazy, but I kind of showed most of it. I think the number one aspect for me is carbon dosing, and always has been. I dose daily, I think 10 p.m. every night. It throws a little bit in the tank just to maintain the bacterial colony. Big fan of that stuff. That's Nopox from Red Sea. But I'm also running a 5.5 gallon Refugium blue lit with Reef Brites, keeping that thing happy. And I think that does a really good job, like knocking the top off of, that's kind of why I do auto water changes. It just knocks the top off of fluctuations in nitrate and phosphate. Because that fuge is so effective, and this is probably a little counterproductive, so I've got the complication of Nopox and a Refugium, a thriving Refugium. What's up, DC? I also dose nitrates. So yeah, there's nitrates in the tank, and the Refugium's removing them, and I'm dosing Nopox to keep the bacteria happy, which is also a nitrate reduction method. On top of that, I dose. So the goal, even though it's a little bit crazy, is that I'm just trying to not have that fluctuation so much. And I'm just trying to flatten that out as best I can. And so far, that's been a pretty decent method. Phosphates is a little different. I don't clean my stuff all that much. And I have some phosphates in the tank. So what I've done is use lanthanum chloride to knock those phosphates down. They used to ride around 0.2, 1.5. Usually 0.2 is where it likes to sit. And right now they're sitting at about 0.05, 0.04, somewhere in there. So the method is maybe crazy, maybe not. It's maybe complicated, but it's effective. So worth thinking about. Absolutely a fuge. I don't think you can go wrong there. That's worth considering. And if you have the space, that could be a separate tank like mine, or it can be in your sump. But either way, I think it's really good. I don't use GFO. Historically, that has not been a good method for me, whether it's just the system's chemistry or it's my use of it. I screw that up and I end up killing corals. So not something I like to do. Let me run through here real quick. Seth, you're having a hard time with nutrient despite heavy feeding. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a thriving bacterial colony if you've got no funky in the tank. Consider dosing. I think it's worthwhile. With you, Juan. Nano tanks are difficult without adding more system volume. That makes it a little bit easier. So check out Mookie's video. It kind of shows you what I'm doing. Maybe you don't want to do it that way. I wouldn't. If I did it again, I'd probably do it. But for those who missed it, this is probably, it's got a hell of a kick to it. This is 8-year-old Booker's bourbon. I don't know where they're out of. It's really harsh. Oh, it's made by Jim Beam. Look at that. Kentucky. Oh, let's talk about hanging kits. I don't know if y'all are into these. I find these super handy. This is, and I'll put it in the description below when I post this video. We'll keep this one. But this is just a cheesy old Amazon plant hanging kit that I found for cheap. Nicely made, sturdy, strong, good clips. Has a decent little cheesy carabiner thingy. So what I did is that I bought these little split ring circles, very small, like keychain things, but they're super, super small. And they clip into here. And you can either bolt them on to an XR15 or XR30. Oops, sorry, bumped the mic. Or if you already have these little, and I don't know why this light has them. My other lights don't. Maybe this is a normal thing. But if you have this little adapter doohickey here that screws in, that's an M5 metric M5 thread, standard thread. But with this little ring, this little split ring, which is right there, like a little keychain, with that on there, and you screw that into the light, and for like $3, I don't really know how much it was super cheap. You have oh, look, there's like me and me. You have a really simple hanging kit that kind of makes sense. So like I said, I'll post that stuff in the description below. If you're looking for, and really, this is if you're buying a used light, which I'm into, people don't always give you the stuff that came with the light. I really don't know what comes with an XR, and I guess I could open one. I have one here to see what comes in. See what comes in the box, but we're not going to do that now. Maybe it has everything you need, maybe it don't. But I enjoy buying used lights, and you never know what it's going to show up with. So this little hanging kit, those tiny little split ring jobbers, makes a really decent hanging kit. So all these people, you know, they bought Gen 5 Radions, and everybody's ditching their Gen 4s or 3s or 2s. And you grab a couple and you want to hang a couple up and you want to roll with it. Say you got 2 and you got your super cheesy Amazon hanging kit, and you want to hang these things like parallel to each other or in line with each other, so they so it's nice and neat hanging over the tank. Or you want to keep them, you know, rotationally centered. Something I found is, and I suppose this is the box's aspect. This is 10mm extruded aluminum. I buy it separately, and also, and if you've seen any of my posts, you see this as part of a MakerBeam kit. This comes with a whole bunch of cut 10mm pieces, little brackets, little adapters and screws and nuts and everything you can. This is like an erector set for those of you who are my age or older. You may know what that means. But it comes with all these cool little angle brackets and all sorts of different things, little inlines, whatever. And you can make these little kits. If you've watched any of my, if you've seen any of my stuff on Instagram lately, I added a Reef Brite to 2 Gen 2 XR30s that are over the frag tank. And first, that 450, 470 nanometer light that Reef Brite puts out is still awesome, right? I have 2 of those older units over the Refugium right now. Great light, beautiful blue, but I haven't had any over corals, over a frag tank in a really long time. And I hung that Reef Brite in line with, they're this way over the tank. They're not this way. So I hung that Reef Brite directly underneath the fans as it moves through the frag tank the long ways, and it lights everything up. Now it's eating up too much alk, and that's something I need to figure out. But you get this little 10mm extruded aluminum, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to figure this out. But it fits this little groove. See this little spot right here on these lights? This 10mm extruded aluminum fits perfectly in. See that little slot right there? Can you see that? You can see that. It fits perfectly on there. So you can create this little, really not obtrusive, not stupid looking bracket that hangs off an XR30 or XR15. It's sturdy as crap. So you can surround the light with this 10mm extruded aluminum MakerBeam, and then you can hang other stuff off. So what I did is I had it here. So I got a piece hanging right there off the end, and then off of this bracket, see, it doesn't impede the fan. Off of this bracket, I can hang another bracket down to hang whatever. Actually, it sits this way. Durr. So the lights are this way over the tank, and then I have a bracket that sits down here and that way across the fan. You can do all sorts of brackets and additional lighting, supplemental lighting, whatever you want, hang it off of an XR15 or XR30 for ridiculously cheap. So you go out and you buy Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4 lights, you create your own brackets, and then you hang off of those lights anything you want. Whether you go with black box light bars, I have one of those coming, I'm going to check that out, or you go with Orphic or Magic or Reef Brite, that you can create your own brackets and hang them off there, and you don't have to spend any extra money, and it makes perfect sense to me. It gives you some flexibility with the light installs that maybe you otherwise don't have. So again, and I'm not affiliated. This is just stuff I buy and stuff I enjoy using. So not at all sponsored, but MakerBeam gives you a little of freedom of mounting. So I made one of those brackets to keep that light rotationally centered over my tank with a, it's hanging, and you got the wire hanging off the thing, and it wants to spin a little bit, whatever. If you make that little bracket, then that light doesn't rotate, and it looks pretty solid. If you're just joining, we got a little Booker's bourbon made by Jim Beam. That's old, and it's stout. It hits you. It's all, what's up? That was, let's talk spectrum. I don't have anything to show you. I'm going to make a video on this, but excellent idea for those aluminum brackets. Yep. So hit me up if you want to see a picture of how I mounted it, how I mounted the Reef Brite underneath the XR30s. I can take a better picture that'll show you. So I've been watching Bulk Reef Supply's reviews of the XR30 Blue and XR30 Pro, the Gen 5s. And what they keep doing is they compare those lights to ATI Blue Plus T5s. That's a really cool spectrum. It's not cool like color temperature, but cool as in it's very complete. It starts in the low to mid 400 nanometer range, and it carries some full spectrum light, so you'll see reds and greens, etc., as it moves up the spectrum. But it's really heavy in like the 420 to 480, 490 blues. It's got a big fat blue chunk in there, which is a nice light. Like I said earlier, the MakerBeam, that's spitting out 450 to 470 nanometers. I think it's using two separate LEDs, at least that's what it looks like under the spectrometer to create that color. And it's really, really clean. But BRS keeps comparing the new Ecotech lights to ATI Blue Plus. So I got to looking at Blue Plus, and I laid that over top of the Gen 5 XR30 Blue and the Spectrums and the Pro. And what it looks like is the Blue gives you an AB plus out of the box. So if you put everything at 100%, then you just play with your intensity. That gives you a really clean spectrum. But what I noticed is that the Blue is much more narrow than I expected. And then took a look at the Pro's spectrum, and it seems to have a wider Blue, which I really didn't understand. But still laid that over the ATI Blue Plus. So I grabbed a shot of, with the spectrometer, I grabbed a shot of my lights, which is a Gen 2, two Gen 2s, one of them running mostly blue, if not all blue, and the other one running more or less AB plus with the Reef Brite XHO hanging underneath those two lights. And that Gen 2 with that Reef Brite comes really close to what you see, the wider blue band of the XR30 Pro, the Gen 5 Pro, without all the whites and reds and greens that you normally see with an AB plus. It's a really nice looking spectrum on old lights. So if you're new, if you're trying to save some money, if you're just needing some more lights, totally look at used XR15s or XR30s, and then supplement with something like a Reef Brite Reef Brite or an Orphic actinic blue, and I think you're going to get. Yeah, we can talk about that if you want, Darth Sanchez. You get a spectrum that comes really close to the blue portion of an ATI Blue Plus T5 bulb, with all of the benefits that you see spectrum-wise with the latest generation Radion at a totally acceptable price. You know, all these used lights are coming in at a pretty decent price now. And it's just an intensity game at that point. The newer lights have a hell of a lot of kick. I mean, they're pushing out a lot of light. My Gen 2s, non-pro, not a lot of light, but they're really good. So yeah, answering the question really quick regarding Gen 3 non-pro, absolutely. That is the single light I have over top of my display right now. And that light's been on there for at least, I don't know, 3 years. And that's an awesome light. I bought that used, got a great price. That's a good light. It has enough punch to get through 18 inches of water. I have two Gen 2 Pros underneath the frag tank. It's basically the same thing, a little bit different spectrum, but the same power. And those lights are great for a 40 breeder or my 40. Would you get the Red C90? No. Well, I don't know. This is a question about the Red C90 LED. I haven't used it, and I really can't provide any recommendations for equipment I haven't used. I think that would be unfair of me to do. So, AI Prime HDs, and not an HD. I have an AI Prime. Yeah, see, I wondered, Lynn. I had seen rumors, but I wondered. Radions, they're good for a reason. They're considered, as far as I'm concerned, top dog for a reason. Their spectrum and their power, I don't think anybody beats that. The Kessel offers a really nice spectrum with a nice 380 true true UV that the other lights don't offer. I think GHL lights has a real UV, a 380 nanometer. The Radions are not true UV. Anything over 400 nanometers is not UV. It's just purple. But a Radion's a good light. I don't think you can go wrong with that. And if you can get an older one, a Gen 2, Gen 3, for like very little money, and then add a Reef Brite or an Orphic or whatever, I think you got a really good light. That's something to consider if you need multiple lights or a single light with some punch to it. Take a look. Lynn, what's the wattage and the cottage of that light? Pay attention to wattage. If you got a light that's 200 watts, that's a bright ass light. If you've got a 30 watt, it's not as bright. A Reef Brite 24 inch is a 30 watt light. So it does not have all of the power that you would see of a Radion. Now keep in mind, Radion wattage values are for all colors at 100%, and you're not going to do that. I doubt it. If you've got a deep tank and you're running the XR30 blue, Gen 5 blue, and you have all of your colors pegged, which gives you AV+, which is a good spectrum, and you run, and it's a deep tank, and you're running a thing at 100% intensity, then you're totally going to use the 204 or 200 whatever wattage, 200 watts of that light. That compared to a 90 watt, that's probably not running true 90 watts. Get a kilowatt. It's a decent little device. You plug your light into that. You plug the kilowatt into the wall. Jake Adams did a review showing light wattage. That way you know really what the light's pulling. So if you have off-brand or whatever, and you really want to know, you can tell. You can really tell light intensity from wattage. Still, rent a par meter, buy a par meter, buy a Senai, so you understand what kind of light you're hitting your tank with. But you get what you pay for, and that's why if you buy used Radions, you're getting a couple-year-old stuff that's still really good. Plus, the customer service is awesome. I've been yammering for about 25 minutes. You can't live without some whites. I am so not a white guy. Well, I am a white guy, but I'm so not a white guy. I dig a really clean blue. I like it quite a bit. What have I missed? Anybody have any questions for me? Just noticed that star cat. Dar Sanchez, this is, I've told this story a couple times, but this is an Iron Man 1 production hat. I was a ramp coordinator at Edwards Air Force Base for Iron Man 1. Got to play with those guys a little bit. That was awesome. That was a great experience. I really love watching movie crews work because they really have their act together. What are you hassling me about, Juan? The hat or the fact that I haven't mentioned your Kessels? Can I clip the... I'm so not... Nice idiot. Yeah, you can clip that if you want. But yeah, I got the movie crews when they come into town or whatever. They really have their act together. Logistics is crazy, and it was just a fun experience. It's always fun. If you ever have the chance to be an extra or help a movie crew at a shoot, do it, because it's really cool to watch them work. And occasionally you get to be in some of those things. Whew! That booze has a kick. Yeah, I have a little bit of white come up during midday on the display, just so the corals get a little white. I don't think they need it. It probably doesn't matter all that much, but that happens when I'm gone. So when I come back, I get to see the blue. Back to MakerBeam. Try these. Buy a kit, or just buy the parts. Make yourself a couple brackets. Hang some stunt lights off of whatever you got going on. Straighten your lights up. Align them. Give it a shot. See what you think. Questions? Anybody have questions? Looks like we got 19 people on here, and that's not too bad. We got people hitting some thumbs up. If you're watching and you're digging it, give a brother a thumbs up if you don't mind. If you're not following, if you're not subscribed, please consider. I do not put out enough content. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I would really enjoy the opportunity. I wish I had more time. Maybe I'll get more time. Blue 80 watt. Reef spec. No, 80 watts is not a lot of light. Mogi was just talking about his live stream where he gets a little, I don't want dead air. I'm gonna have a little dead air. Through Lynn, a couple of new corals today. Mari, a mutual friend of ours, she supports the local CMOS frag swaps, frag shows. I don't think that was a swap. I think that was a sale. And then so I throw Mari a whole bunch of corals, some for her personally, and then was able to pass along some today to Lynn, which was cool. And then I got some in return because John over at CMOS is kind enough to share some of the wild corals he gets in. So wild for me is hit or miss. Every once in a while I do okay, but hopefully I can keep these things alive. That's probably about it. Everybody having a good weekend? Spent a lot of time over at the middle school today. helping with the theater production. We are starting to ramp up our effort over there. It's a big deal. The kids try super hard, and all of us parents try harder to make sure that that show goes off perfectly. Didn't know she was bringing stuff. Yeah, Lynn. She lives relatively close to me, and she swung by the house today and dropped off 3 pieces from John. So, Russell, sorry you got the flu, man. That sucks. That's no good there. Yeah, I'll catch up with you. I still have that chalice that you had asked for. It's still small. I haven't fragged it. I suppose I could probably clip it off the plug and bring that to you. And then some of those new pieces, maybe I can. Well, we're gonna let them grow for a little bit and see what we get. Man, that whatever you gave me, that Jason Fox thing, that thing is so super colorful. It's amazing. I gotta trim my beard. I'm looking a little messy. Look at me. A little rough. I got a little Maker shirt on from Maker Fair. Let's see. You gave me the Jason Fox thing, Lynn. That was the whatever, one of those recent ones that I posted. What's up, Moki? You driving around, listening in your car. Good man. Par meter. I don't know that you need to buy a par meter. The question that Moki asked was, is there a par meter I would recommend? The 510, I can't remember the manufacturer. I'd have to switch tabs real quick to take a peek. But, oh yeah, Solar Flare. Thanks, Lynn. That thing is good. That, the one that Bulk Reef Supply rents, the 510, which is probably a couple $300. That's a good par meter, and it's good for blues. I borrow from a friend of mine, Shane Moore. I borrow his 500, which doesn't do as good of a job on the blues, but whatever, it still gives me a reading, and I can make judgment calls based on what that par meter. Yep, I was heading there, Juan. Senai. A long time ago, Bulk Reef Supply did a comparison between a legit par meter and a Senai, and the values came in very close. So if you can find, like DMV Reefer there is saying, if you can find a used Senai, if you can find a Senai on sale, it does a really good job as a par meter. It does better as a par meter than you would expect, especially for the price. So that's a $200, I think a $200 item, maybe a $150 item. I have one, works great, worth using. But if you don't want to spend money on like owning one, if you're not going to make a lot of changes, you want to set up the tank, rent one from Bulk Reef Supply. It's $50. You have to pay a couple $100 security deposit, but you get that refunded after you return the par meter. The other question is PER. So I have read about PER. It's I don't know that we need to focus on it all that much. I think you're drilling in too far. Just set up the tank 250 to 350 par if you're looking at SPS, 150 if you're looking at a softy tank. If you're looking at mixed reef, try to hit that 100 at the sand bed to 250 and above higher up in the tank just by using a par meter. And I think you'll be good to go. PER has been talked about for years. It's not necessarily a new thing. It's more data. But yeah, Wellness does have one. But sometimes it's hard to get. So maybe it's a little easier to rent one from BRS. I think really pay attention to par. I think that will help you dial in your tank and will help you not kill corals. Good question, though. Thanks for the dish, Moki. Oh, seriously, this stuff has more of a kick than I am used to. I can tell you that right now. It kind of sneaks up on you. You take a sip here and there, and you're good. And then it clobbers you. What's up, Pelfrey? What are you drinking? You got something, don't you? So 3 hydrants, 4 T5s. I'm getting about 700 par at the water line. What are you getting? Sorry. Oh boy. What are you getting at? Oh, I've lost my voice. Now I can't talk. Well, we're gonna have to end the live stream because I've lost. Oop, it's coming. Oh, maybe it's coming back. Nope, it's gone. This is fun. We're gonna have to wrap it up because now I'm talking kind of funny, like a gangsta. I think you need to give me all your money for protection. Do we wait? Oh, it's coming back. Trick. Should I run downstairs real quick and get some vodka so I get my voice back? That was the strangest thing. You have experience there, Lynn? We are sipping on, you showed up here for the eye-watering, voice-losing. We're sipping on some Bookers, bro. And it has a little kick to it. Ocean Revive. That Ocean Revive. Look, if you need a budget light, like no lie, a budget light, you can find these used. I got this one for free. I traded some corals, plus Dude Seth is really cool. This is a good budget light, and it works like a champ. It's really powerful, so you have to be careful with it. So you could run your blues up around 70% over top of whatever. Just make sure you're up like 8 inches above the tank, 9 inches maybe above the tank. Run your blues maybe around 70%. Run your whites to taste, so it looks nice. And you should be good to go. 93 gallon. I want to light. You got a big tank. Oh, that 30 by 30 by 21. 30 by 30 by 21. You're going to need a couple of these. If you're going to do that, I'd put 2 Reef Brites over top of that. You should be okay. I think 2 would cover it. Now I'm scared to drink this. Pelfrey, you got me scared. I'm sipping on some Jim Beam. That's what I said, right? Jim Beam makes this? Yeah. Yep. Only they say James because it's fancy. But it's got some clobbering power. I don't think I'm gonna lose my voice for the rest of the night. All right. I've rambled. I talked about hanging kits from Amazon, which are super cheap, and I'll put them in the description. I talked about MakerBeam, which is a sweet 10 millimeter extruded aluminum that fits perfectly on that little piece of overhang plastic that the Radions have. So you can do, right, you can, anything you want. You can hang anything you want off these lights. You can line them up with these things. You can do all sorts of that kind of business, which I think is kind of cool. You can hang supplemental lighting if you need it. We talked spectrum. We talked a little bit of UV. Nothing above 100 or nothing above 400 nanometers is UV. Doesn't matter what they tell you. It's not. It's purple. We talked losing my voice. It sounded like a gangster with my bookers. James Beam booze from, oh, this is old. What did I say? This is like 8 years old. Maybe 7. And we talked about an Ocean Revive, which I just so happen to have handy. So, good question. I think that's probably it. I've been on almost 41 minutes, and that's a little bit of rambling. And then we talked about my head, too. Am I backwards to y'all? Because on my screen, that reads backwards. I was just wondering. All right. So I think I'm going to sign off. I am, if she'll have me, I'm contemplating jumping on Reef Girl's live stream at 9 p.m., which is absolutely my bedtime. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning. Silly dogs had to go out. But I'm thinking about jumping over there. You see where the cartel is adding. What is LSF? That's well outside my tiny little bubble in which I live. The cartel is adding LSF to wine, and a woman died from it. I don't know what that is. Oh, LSD. That's different. People still do that? Don't people just jam on some gummy bears or something? That seems like complicated. Whew. Or they can drink some Bookers. Man, that's rough. Had to mix that with some Fireball. Throw some ice cubes in there. Tide Pods. No, that's silly. Come on. I wonder if that really happened. Why would people do that? People just dumb. Oh, we also talked nutrient control a little bit. My crazy method of keeping my tank stable. Kentucky Tavern is rough. Dude, this stuff, I normally roll neat. This stuff might need a couple ice cubes in it because it's clobbered me quite a bit. I can't get all schnockered and get on Reef Girl's live stream. That seems ridiculous, right? All right, I think I'm going to jump off. Thanks for hanging out. As always, feel free to hit me up, Telegram, on Instagram. ISIS for sissies. Yeah, dude, I totally agree. And that's kind of how I normally roll. But, you know, this stuff is kicking my ass a little bit. Just a little bit. I hope some of this was helpful. I don't know. I hope you got something out of this. And always happy to provide opinions. Yeah, I was in a chemical commercial. That was a little bit ago. It was kind of a long time ago, right? What's up, Monkey? Are you still driving? I'll hang out if you're going to jump on. My eyes still watering from that whatever made me talk like a gangster. Need some protection money. But yeah, Telegram on Instagram. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Absolutely DM me if I don't know what you're asking. I'm going to tell you I don't know, but hopefully I know somebody who might, so I'll point you in that direction. And I don't think I'm doing anything crazy on the tank. I think I'm going to I'm going to walk my alkalinity back up to where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to try to keep that thing stable. I'm still manual testing, which is still a good option. But every once in a while it runs away from me and I got to fix it. So, all right, y'all. Happy reefing. And I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. And be kind, everyone. Thanks.